right. We have lots of other people that are registered today, but in the interest of time and respecting everybody's schedules, let's get started and hopefully they'll join us as we go. Welcome everybody to our second in our Microsoft 365 Journey to Success series of webinars. This is Roadmap to Success. Today in this webinar, we're going to walk you through Today in this webinar, we're going to walk you guys through a dive into how to determine the tools and features within the Microsoft 365 environment that are most useful or impactful for your own organizations, how to determine how to build a roadmap for a systematic process of implementing the tools and features that you need. And this is the first half of our webinar. Tomorrow, we'll follow that up with some real world examples of how things can be implemented based on the principles that we're going to share with you guys today. Arash, you want to? Yeah. So my name is Tamara Hegan. I'm a project manager and business analyst here at SharePoint Spot Solutions, and I focus on SharePoint and the Microsoft 365 environment. I've been working with SharePoint since 2001, so I have implemented and been a party to design of every version of the SharePoint application that has been put out, and over the past half decade or so, working with the tools and features that are integrated through the Microsoft 365 platform.
Welcome, everybody. Johnny Wanis here, Director of Sales. Thanks for joining us. As you can see, I've grown a beard since my picture there. So I've been at Spot Solutions now for 6 years. So I've had time to grow the beard. My role here at Spot Solutions really is, as you can see, the sales aspect. So I'm really going to be involved if you get a chance to work with us, if it's going to be training or doing a project. I'll be part of that process, proposals and agreements, and then I'm lucky enough to share that, move that project forward over to our operations team who's really strong here. So glad to have you with us and look forward to connecting with you.
Rafi isn't going to be here today because he's on a different project, but Rafi is one of our developers who you'll see throughout any of the other Spot webinars that you might attend.
Hello, everyone. This is Arash Aghajani. I'm SharePoint Microsoft 365 and Power Platform developer at Spot Solutions. I have been working as a SharePoint developer and architect since 2007 and have been involved with the SharePoint community for 15 years. And in the recent few years, I became particularly interested in Microsoft 365 and Power Platform development. And over the past decade, I have helped companies of all size leverage SharePoint and Microsoft 365 solution to increase the employee empowerment and productivity. So today I will be speaking about Microsoft 365 roadmap, and I hope you enjoy this session.
And as you jump into that, Rash, I did want to mention there is a Q&A button there, so feel free to use that. We'll be monitoring that as you go through the discussions, and if you get a chance, we'll make some breaks along the discussion so we can answer those questions as we go.
Okay, so let's get started with the Microsoft 365 introduction. So again, welcome to this interesting webinar hosted by Spot Solutions. This webinar is the second part of the series of webinars that we hosted about the Microsoft 365. The first webinar was held in, I think, October, and about Microsoft 365 adoption. So today, the second webinar where we will talk about roadmap, and the third webinar that will be held next month is a technical webinar, and we will talk about the M365 or Microsoft 365 deployment. So before starting today's topic, let me briefly introduce Microsoft 365 for people who don't know this product. Microsoft 365, as you can see in the picture, is the new name for Microsoft Office 365 and is the subscription-based evolution of Microsoft Office feature familiar program like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but with additional features and products such as SharePoint, Teams, Yammers, and a lot of product that you see in the picture. And Microsoft provide for each areas of your just to cover and support the several areas in your organization and with several tools. For example, for the Office Online, we can use the Excel, Word, OneNote, Outlook, PowerPoint. It's Office-based product, and you can use it in online with Microsoft 365. And also we have the employee data and discovery. There are Booking, Delve, and My Analytics products. For the business application development, there are Power Platform products such as Power BI, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Power Apps, and recently Microsoft introduced Power Pages, and it's for building website by using the Microsoft Power Apps portal feature. So also for the collaboration, we have SharePoint, List, Forms, Microsoft Forms, S-Stream, Yammer, Teams, and Whiteboard. They are great tools and product for collaboration and communication in the organization. For the task management and project works, we have Planner, To-Do, and Project. The Project is the online version of the Microsoft Project Professional that you can have in your Microsoft 365 subscription. And also CRM and ERP solutions. It's a cumulative of products called the Dynamics 365 solution and products. So Microsoft 365 is part of Microsoft Modern Workplace program. So with the Microsoft Modern Workplace solutions, you can improve employee productivity and satisfaction and create more seamless communication and collaboration across location and platforms while maintaining the security and integrity of system and data in your organization. Today, many organizations and companies are interested in using M365 as a secure cloud tool with many features and products. Some of teams are currently using the same, and some other companies use old application and legacy system and are ready to migrate to M365. But the important things for this migration and proper use of the M365 and its powerful product is to have a roadmap. So in this webinar, we will talk about how to prepare a suitable roadmap and how vSpot solution as a Microsoft partner will help you on this in this journey. So let's start with what is a roadmap. Before anything else, let's see what is a roadmap and why do we need roadmap for M365 deployment. A roadmap is a strategic plan that defines a goal or desired outcome and includes the major steps or milestone needs to reach it. A roadmap is a graphical, high-level overview of the project's goal and deliverable presented on a timeline. So it's different between the roadmap, and the roadmap is different than the project plan. Unlike the project plan where details are fleshed out, the roadmap should be simple and free of details or minutiae. So this makes the roadmap a useful tool for managing stakeholder expectation, as well as for communicating plans and coordinating resources with other teams. So a good roadmap should effectively communicate the following strategic piece: the strategic alignment, why and how the initiative align with the higher level business goals or product business strategy. The resources, how a team will achieve those goals and what resources are required to achieve them. Time estimate, when any important deliverable are due, and the dependencies with other teams, the teams and team members that need to be involved and why. So, okay, the M365 platform is now the de facto enterprise collaboration, as I said, and productivity platform for the public sector. But we are seeing many challenges with this implementation, and we do not talk about these challenges today in this webinar series because it's required more time and a more detailed session. But in order not to face those challenges, we strongly recommend having a successful roadmap for the successful deployment of M365 for any organization that needs to use the platform. Having a proper roadmap will minimize the problem and risk in the deployment. So the roadmap is something like this. These are picture of two roadmap example. Left one is product roadmap and the right one is technology roadmap. So the appearance and shape of the roadmap are not very important. It's important to take the right step and direction to reach the goals. So the left shape is a product roadmap, and it's similar to a Gantt chart, something like that. And the right shape and the right picture is for the technology roadmap. It's similar to a Kanban process, and they have a backlog in progress and complete status for the roadmap. So here, based on several years of experience in planning and implementing M365 project and helping organizations to migrate to M365, we divided M365 roadmap into 5 main and principal steps, which are planning, assessment, deep dive, deliverable, and execution. So in the next slide, I will examine each of the steps in detail. So step 1, planning. The purpose of the planning phase is to design and prepare for the assessment. As such, the planning phase is the first opportunity to reach out to stakeholders and build relationships. Your goal should be to get a sense of the key actors and local dynamics, being to make connection and identify ways to build support for the execution phase. So the planning can happen during the assessment phase because the next step is the assessment. So to ensure that all stakeholders have shared vision and goals, but we prefer to have it in the separate step. It's up to you to have you merge the planning with the assessment or have it in a separate step here. So the Microsoft 365 roadmap supports the efficient and effective improvement of company process and system. Therefore, creating long-term a strategy level plan for Microsoft 365 is a high priority. As you know, the planning is an important part in every project. So the roadmap deployment also is a project in whole, and actually is a project. So the assessment, it's a second principle in the in our roadmap steps here for the Microsoft 365. In this step, conducting an assessment is usually the first step in a large effort to engage with stakeholders and raise awareness of their contribution to advancing the goals to Microsoft 365. The SPOT Solutions team will engage with business and IT leadership to assess the current state and define your Microsoft 365 goal and strategy. During this part of the engagement, we will assess the following. So there are here we have several steps for the assessment. There are several items that we prepared here. The first one is initial meeting to identify Microsoft 365 application license that are currently in use in your organization. You might using Microsoft 365 right now in your organization, or you have a Microsoft 365 tenant in your organization. So you need to have an initial meeting to identify this application, which applications in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem that you are using right now, and also the licenses, and we need to review this with your organizations, and it's a first step here. The next one is explore how M365 can enable the support and delivery of your business needs, enabling innovation and leadership in IT-enabled business change. The next one, the conduct in-depth discussion with the stakeholders, C-level people, to understand what services are being used, how they are used, and why. So this is another important part in the assessment step. We need to check in depth and talk with your stakeholder and C-level to know which and what service you are currently using and is already installed for your organization, and why you are using the service, and how they are used. So they identify additional M365 technologies products that can be implemented to meet business requirements. As I mentioned, there are so many application and technology or products involved in the Microsoft 365 platform. So we need to identify which of them is required and for your organization, because you need to pay for the license, and it's important part that we decide which license meets your requirement and meet your business requirement. So this is another step in the assessment that we will talk about with you. The identify security or compliance risk with the current configuration and the recommended approach to address this. So there are a lot of compliance risk and security maybe for the current configuration, and if you have Microsoft 365 tenant, so we need to check everything regarding to the security and compliance, and if there are any risk or issue to setting up the security feature or compliance. So we need to address this for you here. So, and the next one is review current infrastructure and application in both on-premise and online, such as Active Directory, SharePoint, Exchange, Teams, in order to recommend best practice. This is the another important part here. We need to review your current infrastructure and application, because some organizations right now may using the on-premise solution, for example, the SharePoint on-prem, Exchange on-prem, and Skype on-prem, or Active Directory. So we need to review the infrastructure, and or maybe you are using right now in the SharePoint online, or the online or cloud application in part of your Microsoft 365 tenant, or in a separate as a separate product or license that you might bought for your organization. So it's very important part that we need to check and review in the assessment step here. The SPOT M365 assessment is typically a 4-week engagement, I think, and follows a structured approach that limits effort from your staff, but maximize the opportunity to provide advice, guidance, and ensure alignment between your requirement and or recommendations. So this is all that we need to have in the assessment steps. The step 3 is deep dive and the visioning. So after completing the assessment phase, we will then move onto a series of visioning sessions to discuss best practice for Microsoft 365 technology, including here we will deep dive and we will deeply discuss about several things on your organization as well. So to discuss the current state and the desired future state to meet your business needs, setting up a workshop in person or online to receive idea and prioritize them, review Microsoft licensing plan for any licensing option and cost saving opportunity. This is another important step here, and we will need to discuss about the licensing because Microsoft provide 2 separate section or 2 separate plan for the Microsoft 365 license. One is the first plan is for business under 300 employees, and the second one is enterprise level license for unlimited users. So and each of them has their own license plan. For example, we have a business standard, business premium license for Microsoft 365, and for the enterprise level, we have E1, E3, E5, and F1 licensing plan. So it will important part because it will help you for the cost saving opportunities here. So the next one is discussion about governance, adoption, change management, and training. So the governance, adoption, change management. These are the other important part of the deep dive steps, because the governance plan is another important things before you start implementing or your M365 or technologies in your organization. We need to create a plan for the governance. Also, the change management is another important things here, because might be you are currently using the old system and you need to migrate to the cloud version of or new products such as the Microsoft 365. You may have the custom solution right now in your organization and you want to migrate to the cloud solution. So the change management is important here because it's difficult for employees, some of the employees, to move from the system that they are using daily, and it's a daily basis systems, and it's hard to migrate to the new solution or to the new platform. So they resist in the change. So we need to have a change management scenarios for this migration and for the modern workplace journey. It's a moving to the modern workplace, and it's a journey. So the training also is important part here. We will talk about the training session that we will set up for your organizations, and which training is required for you, for the power user, end user, developer, or which type of training is suitable for your organization, the standard training course or the fast track one. So it's another things that we need to talk in the deep dive steps here. The next one is messaging, file sharing, communication, and collaboration. So we need to talk about the same because the communication and collaboration platform in the Microsoft 365 is SharePoint and the Teams. So there are also Yammer and Skype for Business. So we need to talk which of this solution is suitable for your organization and what is the best practice, because the integration between those products and it's very important here as well. So the information architecture, strategy, label, policies, archiving, and retention. We will discuss about the best practice for the information architecture strategy, because the information architecture change through the times, and recently we are using the flat structure, for example, for the SharePoint sites, for the SharePoint Online sites, or we are using the new structure by tagging and using metadata for the documents, for records, and the content that you have in Microsoft 365 and also in the SharePoint environment. So defining the policies and archiving and retention policies is important here, because we need to ensure that that we set the correct retention for your retention policy for your information and your content here. The next one is the mobile device and application management solution selection. So this is another important thing. So we need a centralized management solution to manage the employees' mobile device and application, and the security as well. So Microsoft introduced the Intune, and it's another solution that it's part of the Microsoft 365 security and compliance area. So we will discuss about this solution, or maybe you have another third-party solution. So here we will discuss about the best practice solution for the device management and application as well. Step 4 is deliverable, build a roadmap. As part of this professional service engagement, Spot will deliver the following to you via a final presentation roadmap. So we will deliver the assessment documents, the Microsoft 365 maturity roadmap presentation, training resources. Present timeline plan and cost includes license subscription cost, governance and adoption plan, migrate Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive to Microsoft 365. We will give you a plan for this migration with the details of how we will do that for you. Security and compliance implementation, Microsoft Intune implementation if it's our choice for the mobile device management. M365 application managed service. So the managed service and 365 managed service help maintain the sustainable operation of M365 solution. The managed service cover user help desk, administration of the M365 ecosystem, Microsoft 365 implementation or evolution, including customization, integration, and migration. So we will give you a plan for the managed service in the Microsoft 365. This is the step 4 here, and the final step is the execution. When the planning, assessing, visioning, and deliverable have been determined, now it's the time to execute and implement this roadmap. For this, we need to specify all the items that have been prepared in the previous documents that we prepared in the build step. So Spot Projects Manager can help the client to achieve this goal and execute the roadmap. After building the roadmap, we need to execute the roadmap. So we need project managers here to help you. The project manager can help the client build specific project plans, engage a project team, and assign tasks to get the work done. Or PM can also provide a status, progress update to executive and the stakeholder. Or experts and project manager will help you to develop and implement roadmaps. The important thing is that you may be using M365 right now, as I mentioned before, but you haven't benefited from all its feature and innovation. So we can even help you in build and execute the roadmap and revising the strategy for the activation and deployment of those parts and features. In the following slides, I think it will be tomorrow, we will talk about the details of how to prepare checklists, and in the third webinar on, I think, end of the February, our technical team will talk about run and implementation scenarios. So it was all about the Microsoft 365 roadmap steps, and I try to briefly explain those steps for you to give you a quick view of what's the Microsoft 365 and what's the step forward roadmap. So thank you for joining this meeting, and we will talk about roadmap presentation checklist in tomorrow meeting. I hope you will be with us in tomorrow meeting that my colleague Tamara will present. Thank you so much.
So I want to take a minute here. Arash, thank you so much. This has been great. Some of what so Arash has presented to you the methods that Spot Solution goes through when we engage with a client who's looking to develop a roadmap. I want to stress that these steps from 1 to 5 and the processes that Arash has talked about can be done internally within your organization or with another consulting firm, but the steps stay the same. Of course, we're a little biased and we think we're the best, but what we really want to do for you today is give you a good sense of what are the things that you as a leader or as a member of an organization really have to consider when you start this out. If your organization has a very large IT department, this might be something that you want to take on in-house, and you want to actually start these steps going directly from what you have, in which case, take a look at each of the steps, the specific types of activities that Arash has shared with you, and bring those to your IT department as here's how we figure out where we want to go. If you don't have a very large or developed IT organization, you may want to look at getting a partner consultant who can help guide you through these steps, like Arash was sort of mentioning, and help fill in the gaps. You're an expert in what you do, whether that's marketing, tire sales, real estate, whatever it is you do, you're an expert in that. And it's sometimes nice to be able to lean on other experts to help you in your areas. Now, as Arash mentioned, the second half of this webinar will be taking place tomorrow. I'm just going to pop the registration link into the chat, so anybody who might want to attend is welcome to click on there and register. During tomorrow's session, I'm going to be taking you through real live examples of the implementation of the steps that Arash went through today. I'll show you information from different industries and how that information and how that roadmap for that particular industry chose which features to highlight first, how to implement those features within that particular space. And we're going to cover several different industries so that you get a wide variety of how people can implement these tools, what kinds of features are really going to be available to you. So that's going to be happening tomorrow. But before we sign off or do any of that, I wanted to open the floor to questions. All of you have the ability right now, if you choose, to unmute your mic and speak to the team. I believe I'm going to allow Mike for everybody. And we'd love to answer any questions you have. They don't have to be a specific one, can be any about specifically what was discussed here, though generally that would be good. But anything that you'd like to ask in regard to this sort of roadmap development. Also, for individuals who attend tomorrow's session, I will have a package of checklists and forms that we use to help us build structure around this. So to help us identify who our stakeholders are, to help us identify which tools and features are most impactful to our organization, and to help to understand what do I already have and where do I want to go. So does anybody have any questions?
I'll jump in myself, just add a little bit extra content, and maybe this might spark a few more questions. Just to share from being with Spot for 6 years and working on different types of projects, or even being involved in some of the training we've been doing. One thing that we do pride ourselves on is making sure that the project's successful, or the what we're working on is going to be successful. And how do we achieve that? A lot of it is taking the time when it comes to working through these roadmaps. And as Tamara mentioned, there are different ways to approach it. There are key steps that we want to talk about, which Arash talked about as well today. But it really is important to take the time to work through that roadmap and take the appropriate steps there in order to make sure that when you move through the project and you get towards, wrapping up the project, that you're sticking with the roadmap and continuing to focus on the business value and focus on what it is you're looking to achieve. So Spot Solutions, I think the reason why we have a lot of successful projects, we like to call it certainty of success. But the reason why we have a lot of successful projects is we do take the time to build a roadmap out and make sure that we're hitting all the key aspects is what you're going to need from a business perspective. So just want to throw that in there.
I suppose the last thing to say there is this can seem a bit overwhelming. There are so many things to look at, so many features. Everything's cool. I want it all. Most of the time when we build a roadmap, we recommend to our clients that they start small. Change is a really challenging thing, as Arash mentioned earlier, and managing that change and managing your organizational and employee reaction to change is critical for things to be successful. Typically, roadmaps that we develop with a new client, they might have, okay, we're going to get a SharePoint solution in place and we're going to get Exchange Online. We're going to add these features this year. And then we have individual features or new applications of features that are going to start to be introduced to the organization on a timed schedule. So a roadmap usually will have, okay, here's what we need to do to prepare in our first year, set our baseline. And here's the next 2 to 3 years of implementations or updates that we're going to do. This helps to stabilize. It means that your organization can start to get comfortable and used to the features. And just when they're chomping at the bit to get that next feature, your roadmap comes up and you say, you're right, now we're going to put in Microsoft Teams, or hey guys, 2024 is the year of automation. We're going to start looking at workflows and how can we make the system that we've stabilized over the past year even better. So when you're thinking about all this stuff, don't think that everything has to happen at once. Otherwise, it won't work. One of the really nice pieces about the M365 platform as a whole ecosystem, as a whole environment is, back to that first slide that Arash was showing you guys, there are so many different pieces to it, and you don't have to pick all of them in order to be successful. It really can be a la carte solution. Yeah, I want my office online, so I have co-authoring and co-editing, and my people are using those tools already, so it's going to be an easy transition. So maybe I move to that and I look at collaboration, and once we're really stable on collaboration, I can start looking at automation, apps, visualization of my data. I can get into employee data and e-discovery. There's so much available to you in the platform. Nobody is expecting you to do it all at once. So if there aren't any questions, we did set aside about 15 minutes, which we're hitting here for question and answer. But if there aren't any questions, then we will thank you so much for your time. In the chat is the link to tomorrow's session. Well, we'll be having very little on the PowerPoint side, but we'll be looking at live environments and real world business scenarios. So thank you so much for attending.
Thanks for joining. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.